hitting the golf ball.
When Joey turns it back, I get somebody to stay with them.
Good. Hey, Mr.
Probably playing about right now.
There you go. Thank you.
Hey, boys.
How are you?
Let's see.
Thank you so much.
I'll try the half. I haven't seen him in a while.
He's coming. Just a little slower. There you go.
Speak of the devil.
It does.
I'd like to call to order our South Hill Town Council meeting for the Monday, June 14th. Shall we pray? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, as we assemble here tonight, we are truly blessed as a town, as a state, as a country. Dear Lord, you have blessed us. You have led us through this pandemic. We're at a point now where we can go forward and be prosperous, only in your sight and your vision. Be with us now, be us forever. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, Anna.
Bacon Spoon,
Present.
Graham,
Here.
Honeycutt,
Present.
Luster,
Present.
Moody,
Present.
Moss,
Here.
Ben Taylor,
Here.
Joseph Taylor, Stuart Bowen, Kim Callis, Sheila Kudrow, C.J. Dean, David Hash, Carol Hutchinson, and Bentley Morris.
Thank you, Hannah. Council, you've had the opportunity to see the minutes from May. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Council, we have prepared tonight to show appreciation, and I want to read to you. The gentleman is not here tonight. That's Mr. Logan Matthews. But we did this in appreciation for him, who's been assisting with our video streaming. On behalf of the South Hill Town Council and staff, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude for your assistance during the unprecedented events of the COVID-19 pandemic. We thank you for volunteering your time and expertise as an intern to help make the streaming of our town council meetings successful during restrictions and lockdown. We'd also like to congratulate you on the graduation from Parkview High School, and we wish to continue success as you start college at Virginia Tech in the fall. In closing, thank you again for everyone here in South Hill for helping make this successful as a community. Signed, Dean Mary. So I just wanted to recognize, and he's been a very good job, and he's been with us. And Mark, I appreciate you helping mentoring and tutoring him as well. We have a small gift for him that we'll make sure we get to him. Okay, Council?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Citizens to address council. We have first Alfonso Jiggets. Is he here?
No.
Okay. All right. Also, citizens to address council is Ms. Lee Howell.
No.
Step to this mic if you like.
Okay, can you hear me now? All right.
Yeah.
Council members, I am Lee Howell, president of the Children's Theater of South Hill and former coach of the one-act team at Parkview and sponsor of the Drama Club. In the newspaper, it was attributed to me that Mayor Horn and the Colonial had assisted my groups in some way. That was not true. In 2003 and 2004, several conversations were held between Margaret Walker, the founder of the Children's Theater, and the Restoration Committee, discussing our becoming the acting group of the theater so that our name could be used to access federal grants. We eventually had a meeting with the committee, Ms. Walker, Melissa Mickey, several students, and myself to take pictures celebrating our partnership. You can imagine my surprise several years later when Mayor Horn, after I contacted him, informed me that we were no longer part of the Colonial. No one had informed us that we were uninvited or that we needed to find another theater. Mr. Horn offered to rent this community theater to us. After reviewing the price list that I was given by Lisa Jordan at his request, I realized that a few days of rehearsal, 3 show days, and tech staff would cost us nearly $5,000. We're a charity. That's our entire budget for the year. It was suggested that we eliminate the rehearsal days, but it's not safe to put small children on an elevated stage without rehearsal so that they learn the perimeter. After I declined for the children's theater, Lisa came to see me at Part View. Mr. Taylor was at that meeting. Lisa offered for the Colonial to sponsor us for our spring plays. This meant that we had to pay for the scripts, the royalties, and the costumes, and they would split the ticket money with us at 80% for them and 20% for us. I declined again because we need the ticket money to pay for our scripts and so forth. I discussed my dilemma with then council member Millie Gracie, and her comment was, "Did you get it in writing?" No, we didn't. We didn't realize with whom we were dealing. Despite what I consider to be Mr. Horn's shoddy treatment of the Children's Theater, which has existed since 1992, by the way, I never brought this to council before because this is a small town. I try to get along with my neighbors. However, in the light of current controversy, I felt that I should come forward and make my position clear, at least. So, I would like to add, I have no problems with the Colonial, Doug Wright, anybody. The only person that I have a problem with is the way Mayor Horn treated a group of children that had no recourse. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And thank you. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of council. We have a request tonight by Timothy Pulliam to utilize 227 West Virginia Street for storage of motor vehicles being offered for sale. The planning commission recommends approval. I'd like to open the floor for discussion.
I got something.
Okay.
Ma'am, would you come to the microphone and state your name?
Which microphone? Any of them?
Maybe try that one right there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My name is Ginger Bowersock. I live right above it on 405 Goose Ferry. So my house, I have to look down on all of that. My question is, number one, you guys addressed, last time we addressed the fact that the noise and the wrecked cars. How or why would a reputable high-end car dealer want to store cars in a building that has no air? I'm not sure it has heat. Beside a body shop with wrecked cars all down the street. I mean, right now, behind our house, the trees and vegetation belong to my husband and I. Come fall, we have to look at all that junk. The wrecked cars and the wrecked cars in the street. I think we need to clean up what we got before we bring something else into the area. That's just my opinion on it. I mean, I live there and I don't think I should have to in the fall look at a bunch of wrecked and broken cars when I'm sitting on my deck. I know you guys don't have to do that. I don't really understand why I have to. I mean, I just think we should clean up what we got before we allow someone else to come in and put more cars down there.
I thought we addressed this at meeting before last, month before last. We addressed this and they were going to follow up with that.
It's only like 1 or 2 cars still left in the farm. All of them are gone as of now? All of them are gone as of now?
All the ones that doesn't have a valid tag. I think Billy's working on 1 or 2, and the building is heated in there.
It wasn't heated or air last year. But anyhow, on the street, there's about 6 cars on the street that's in those parking spots above where he wants to put a car dealership. And below, there's a lot more than a couple of cars in the back.
All tagged that's on the street. I just looked at them, just rode by. All of them's got a tag on it, except for one Mercedes with a 30-day tag, I believe, on it.
But they're
And
still
it may be 1 car down in the bottom that does not have a 2021 tag on it. They do work on cars. They do have a little time, I think, to work on one to get it fixed out. But all the cars are gone. We went down there down there and we discussed it. It said vegetation, you cannot see it. You cannot see it from their property. As a defense, we discussed that for about an hour down there. Everybody said we get rid of the three of us that decided that they couldn't patrol it to see what was going on. One thing when the cops come by and see what was going on down there, they couldn't see it. And we said it'd be best to get rid of the cars. So we got rid of the cars, and I told Jamie Belvin at that day, if you have a problem with a car down there, let me know and I'll take care of it. I do not drive down here every day. I will be glad to get rid of it. Putting a fence up, I don't think would be any advantage to it. It's down in the bottom. As of the noise, I don't know whether the noise come from the street or out of the building. There's a noise over in town, you call the police, certainly they go take care of the problem.
Mr. Hayes, could you state your name and relationship to the property for everybody in the audience and for our minutes?
I'm Joseph M. Hayes Jr. I'm the owner of Winter Hills Property LLC.
Thank you.
In the fall, the trees lose their leaves, we are looking at a bunch of junk and red cars. Plain and simple.
It was my understanding that they were going to store the cars inside of the building and not outside.
Mr. Pulliam is, yes, sir.
That is correct. This came up at the planning commission, and this past week it was amended to remove repair of the vehicles. It was initially said they would store them and repair them, and the planning commission removed the repair, and this is just for the storage inside the building of these vehicles at this particular site.
So they're not going to be stored at all outside.
Under this special exception, no, sir. On this one right here with the storage of motor vehicles being offered for sale at 227 West Virginia Street. They're gonna be stored inside.
It sounds like maybe she's referring to the body shops up on that top street because this business is not even open yet.
That is, that's what I'm taking.
That's probably correct, that, it
Okay.
still hasn't been, like I said, when the trees lose their leaves, I'm looking at that. I don't think it's fair that I have to look at that.
So ma'am, you're not opposed to what's being proposed in terms of the special exception?
I'm opposed to let's clean up what we got, let's take care of the first time that we were told there'd be a fence erected, so no one would have to look at this before we allow something else to be put in.
Thank you.
Mr. Hash, have y'all gone back over there since the last council meeting when we talked about it? And what transpired then?
There's approximately about 12 cars up there. Mr. Hayes had them removed.
All of them?
Yes. There might be one still back there that he just mentioned. Had 30-day tags on.
These are cars that will be moved, I'm sorry, these cars will be moved inside the building, is that correct?
No, the cars that we're discussing now are Billy Daniels, Late Night Customs, and Jeffrey Baskerville. These are two businesses that are down there now presently.
That's entirely separate from this special.
Right.
It's entirely separate.
Before he was requested.
But what I'm saying,
still needs to be
all of
addressed.
his vehicles, I hear you, all of his vehicles will be in the building,
Yes.
no exception.
No, sir.
Okay. So that's the issue at hand, it's not the other cars. It's not.
Council could make it very clear with a motion to approve the special exception with the stipulation that all vehicles will be stored for sale inside the building. You want to make it absolutely clear.
Well, Mr. Hash, is it anything, well, and maybe it should be after this, but is it anything that can be done to address the situation that she is talking about?
Well, Mr. Hayes was just giving you the scenario from 2 years ago, the conversation we had with him, with Jamie, myself, and him. And he said he would just keep the cars removed. In his opinion, a fence is not gonna do no good in the bottom, because they live up on the hill. They'll still be able to look down inside.
Inside the fence.
Area. Yes.
Well, do we need to put any further restrictions on the businesses that are already there? I mean,
Well, I mean, if Mr. Hayes will keep up with his, renters to keep the cars from being piled up, that's gonna be the easiest way to address it.
well, can there be a little follow-up to make sure that's done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If If council pleases,
I know it's two different things.
Two separate things.
I know it's two different things.
we should take action on this.
Mhm.
and then-
And then address it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing.
Council?
Council, I make a motion that we approve special exception 2021-2 with the understanding that the vehicles that will be at 227 West Virginia Street will all be stored inside, and those vehicles must be for sale and shall not be for repair.
Second.
That-
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now,
Yeah, I agree.
and I don't know if this is, it may not be Mr. Hash, it might be Chief. I don't know where it goes, but are currently are the other businesses, the existing businesses, with those, as she says, wrecked vehicles or inoperable vehicles on the street, and I was back there last week on some personal business, there were a lot of vehicles. Whether they were inoperable or not, I couldn't tell you. Are there any violations with those existing businesses that maybe she's referring to that we need to address?
I think it's gonna be something we just gonna have to keep up with them on a steady basis.
But do you know of any violations?
Well, I'm sure as far as the commercial business being there, I mean, I don't know of any violations. I mean, they'll have to store cars as far as a business.
Mayor, Mr. Moore?
Okay, sure,
I
sir.
rode through there over the weekend. There was one and maybe two vehicles that did not have tags on them, and they were parked on the side of the street. I made note of them.
If you'll give us the information, we will go by there
Yes.
and address it with those.
Yeah, I think a little reminder is in order.
Yes, sir, state your name.
James Bowersock, 405 Queensferry, Southfield. What I'm speaking on is, we were told 2 years ago, I take it, and then again our last meeting that we attended, that there was gonna be a sound barrier put up, not a discussion on it. That this was the council's, recommendation, and that was on the agenda, I thought. Furthermore, I'd like to thank you all for keeping us in contact with the correspondence between what was going on, because that's why we're here. We got a letter stating that, basically there was sound barrier. And I'm absolutely no different. We don't want it on the street side, if that's a problem for the PD. We want it between the two properties, on top of the hill and on the bottom of the hill. We don't really care too much about we can't really do anything about what bounces off that old warehouse. It's another agenda, I suppose. But anyway, I was told there was gonna be a sound barrier, and there is none. Nothing was done, nothing has changed for us other than
I
the
would
leaves
call
or
it word sound barrier. I would call it rust barrier.
that would be a sound barrier, sir.
Well, Mr. Hayes, said right here, the last conversation 2 years ago was that he agreed to keep the cars in that back parking lot. And unfortunately, they grew over the past 2 years. So we've got the cars removed again, and we'll try to keep up with it to keep the cars removed from this day forward.
I would just like to say again, a sound barrier wasn't.
We would have to go back and review the minutes to see
I think
what
that,
what was
I
there.
would appreciate that, sir.
Yes,
And
sir.
I remember the conversation from the planning commission. I remember it talking about the sound barrier, and we were talking about the bamboo trees. And I don't remember which one we decided on. I'm like, town manager, I'd have to go back and look at the notes and see exactly what we brought to the council. But I remember us talking about it, but I don't remember the final result.
We'll review the minutes and report
Okay,
back next month.
and we'll get back to you.
All right, sir. And my wife may have mentioned that the bamboo that was planted there, we did, for our benefit, to try to keep the, sound and the site. That's what we did. And of course, the body shop being down there for the last year or so, the noise is pretty high. And the levels sometimes get out of control, not just the noise of repairing cars, but their music or whatever. And of course, we do call PD and they respond. We appreciate that also. But we do appreciate it. You would keep
Yes, sir.
us in the correspondence.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of the audience, on May the 10th, We held a public hearing to hear comments regarding the proposed budget tax rates and water and sewer rates for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Since that time, the overall budget has not changed. The proposed general fund budget is $12,231,522, and the proposed water and sewer fund budget is $12,742,634. There are no proposed tax rate increases. Water rates for consumption of greater than 50,000 gallons per month will increase to $4.90 per 1,000 gallons. And in considering the effects of the pandemic, we did not increase water rates for the upcoming fiscal year. However, we want to remind everyone that to keep pace with the rising cost of materials and regulation, we will need to increase our rates very likely next year. The planned general fund capital expenditures are $1,971,900, most of which is attributable to replacing the lower shop at the Public Works facility, and it no longer meets operational needs. Water and sewer capital expenditures are big ticket items, $8,535,200, primarily for construction of a major new gravity/force main sewer line, which you'll hear more about later in this meeting, pump stations, a large new water line that we're working to create some redundancy, to provide redundancy to the town, and the replacement of all rotors at the wastewater treatment plant. As I mentioned, the overall budgets for each fund have not changed since the budget public hearing. Funding resulting from a reduction in health insurance expense was shifted to legal expense and community development. The legal expense is a little bit of an unknown because we do not know what will happen with Whittles Mill and the FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and we may have to have more legal work done by ACWA law on that front. The other items that upon attainment of nonprofit status, the Colonial Center funding of $155,000 will be funded directly by the town rather than through the South Hill Community Development Association. The CDA has taken appropriate action on its part for the Colonial to move forward with nonprofit efforts and to transfer ownership of the theater to the Colonial. The CDA retains a right of first refusal should the Colonial nonprofit wish to relinquish theater ownership. Similarly, instead of funding the chamber and the shops through the CDA, that would be jointly funded by the town to the tune of $150,000. So the overall budget has not changed, but about a little over $40,000 was shifted to legal and to community development, and in each department, the medical insurance expenses are reduced just a little bit. And we met with the Budget and Finance Committee and discussed all of this.
And Mr. Callis, we will need a motion, number one, to adopt the budget and the tax rates and the sewer rates as presented. And then we will need a second motion to appropriate the funds.
That is correct.
My question, or perhaps my request, would be that in the second motion to appropriate the funds, can we put into it that we can appropriate the funds to the Colonial Theater, but we will not disperse those funds until the nonprofit status has been verified by the town manager and the finance director? That can be added to the motion, can it not?
I would suggest that be motion number 3, just to make it clear. We need to appropriate the funds, and then, because there are 2 recommended motions. So we adopt the budget, we appropriate the funds, and then motion number 3 would be the appropriation for the Colonial Center would be released at such time nonprofit status is verified.
I would like to know what council feels about that suggestion.
This sounds right, because the second one is stating with the shops of South Hill too, to appropriate the funds, so we do need a third motion regarding the Colonial Theater.
We can appropriate it, and correct me if I'm wrong, we can appropriate it, and we can appropriate to the Colonial, the 155, but we will not hand over any money until the Colonial Theater contacts the town manager and the finance director to show proof that they are now nonprofit, and that can be sent on to the town council. So we're gonna hold on to the money until they come up with nonprofit.
That's fine.
Okay, that's, okay, okay.
What you said, Ms. Fagan, Moon, you said something about the shops of South Hill.
I was including that's in the second motion. He had moved to appropriate funds related to the budget, which would also include the shops of South Hill.
That includes
That
everybody.
include everybody.
That includes
I agree,
everybody.
but I'm just saying, Mr. Moss referenced the chamber, though. That's what I was asking. I saw that part of it as well.
But.
No, I saw that. Yeah, we see that.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I do have,
We must adopt and appropriate,
correct.
but we can make the third motion to do what you just said.
Okay.
Councilman Moss, do you have a comment?
yes, sir, I do. Before we get into motions and voting, I need to disclose that I am a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the CDA appointed by the Chamber of Commerce, as well as I'm the board member and founding member of the Shops of South Hill. So I want to disclose that and to inform you that I am able to vote fairly and objectively on the proposed funding of $10,000 included in the budget for the Shops of South Hill. So if it's any conflicts, I want to get those resolved now.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to also state, Mayor, that I am also a sitting board member on the Shops of South Hill. I know I can vote fairly and objectively and have no problem in doing so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, we need a motion for adoption
The budget first.
for the budget.
So move for the budget.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Anna?
Bacon Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Luster,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Okay, now we need a motion for appropriation, council.
I move to appropriate funds related to fiscal year 2021-2022 budget effective July 1, 2021.
Second.
Roll call, Anna?
Bacon Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Luster,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Councilman Moody, will you make the third motion?
I would move that the funds that are appropriated in motion number 2 concerning the Colonial Theater, they will not be dispersed to the Colonial Theater until proof of their nonprofit status has been verified by the town manager and the finance director.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Anna?
Question,
Oh,
any discussion on that?
Yeah.
I just have one question. In doing that, are there quarterly disbursements, one yearly disbursement? I know their attorney said that he felt a quarterly appropriation would be appropriate. And I was also told by the town legal that in the CDA meeting, that if we are going to put any guidelines on the disbursement of funds, he recommended us putting that in this motion.
Oh, okay.
You know, is it prorated over the fiscal year, depending on when they achieve it? Or are we just giving them 155 carte blanche, whether they are able to open or not? And I know they're open right now, things could change.
Mr. Mayor, we've had this discussion in budget and finance. If I'm any entity, I'd like to know how much money I'm gonna have up front for the year. And if it's doled out here and doled out there, I may need it first quarter, and not second quarter. If I know my money's there up front, then I can plan for the year. And I think that's only fair. I hear what Mr. Moss is saying. But I think in fairness to the Colonial, or if it was anybody else, I think if they had their money up front, they could plan better.
Can I make a comment?
I have a comment as well.
I'd like to make a comment. Many local governments will, not many, if a local government is unable to pay with the adoption of a budget at the beginning of the fiscal year, oftentimes the disbursements are shifted or done in more than one payment. And the reason for that is a lot of local governments rely heavily on property taxes, which are paid in December and January, so they get a lot of their money at that time of year. We have historically paid for everything. We get a flood of requests for the checks in July, and we have historically paid all of those, with the exception of the CDA, which was paid quarterly, and then funneled to the chamber quarterly. We are fortunate to be in a position that we could pay it all in July, in a financial position that we could pay all of them in July. We could pay half of all of them in July and pay the other half in January, if you so choose. I'd suggest to you, though, that we try to be consistent in what we do with all organizations. And to Mr. Taylor's point, a lot of them, much like we have to pay all of our insurance in July. Our insurance payment for the year comes due in July. A lot of them have similar situations where they need to do things right away. The Lake Country Advanced Knowledge Center is a little bit unique because they're federally funded, and their fiscal year, I think, begins in October and runs October through September. So we fund them usually in October at the beginning of their fiscal year. So it's going to simplify things if we treat everyone consistently, including the Chamber of Commerce and the shops, and just be able to write the check once or twice a year and be done with it.
I agree.
Councilman Taylor, you had a comment? Did you have anything to say?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay,
I
Councilman.
do, yes. And to get back to, maybe doing it quarterly, and to Mrs. Howell's issue that she had in coming forward to the council this evening, to hold people accountable of doing the right thing, that's the reason why you hold that and don't do it at all up front. Because if she was treated like this, and we've had this active children's theater now for almost 28 years, Ms. Howell, you referenced Mr. Taylor was a part of that, or part of those discussions when you were at Parkview. You were one English teacher.
I was in the meeting.
In the meeting, that's what I'm saying, but you were there. But again, this goes back to holding people accountable. And, she's justifiably said that she was, not treated fairly and was invited and disinvited. So again, in order to hold people accountable, that's why we need to be a good steward of divulging money out and not doing it all at the same time for this very reason.
My concern with that, though, is that we begin having a litmus test for each individual department or entity which we fund through our budget, which will be wavering depending on opinions of certain council members. We need to establish a budget and be consistent with it. And there is always an avenue for some discussion, complaining, praising, and that's these meetings. It shouldn't be through the line items of the budget. And so I completely disagree. We ought to be consistent, and we haven't made exceptions to this point. We should start now.
That's right.
Ma'am,
Agree.
Ma'am, Mr. Mayor, I remind that my motion included the condition that none of the funds would be dispersed until the nonprofit status has been verified. So therefore, this is what the entire thing has been about for the past 3 months, was to get the theater to the nonprofit status so that it could continue. No funds will go to the Colonial, if this council sees fit, until their nonprofit status has been verified. If it gets verified in July, fine. If it gets verified in November, they won't get any funds until November, period. We, the town council, will hold on to those funds until they prove the nonprofit status. That's what the motion is.
Second your motion.
And the motion has been seconded.
Any further discussion?
Question, how close are they to being nonprofit? Do we know?
I do not know. The CDA has done everything that it needs to do, and I sent an email Friday asking about that. I've not received anything back, or asking where we are. We would like to have it all done by June 30th.
That's the hope, that's doable, you're being told that's doable?
I have not been told that it's doable by June 30th, but that was my request, that it all be resolved by June 30th.
I think it's in the hands of the IRS now. I mean, they've applied.
That's right.
It's just sitting in a queue. I think all the paperwork applications have been filed from our understanding through the CDA meetings. It's in the queue at the IRS at this point.
I've not received a response to the email yet, but the application has been submitted.
Okay.
And that can take several months for the IRS and Treasury to approve.
And Councilman Moody, your motion means that it's not prorated based when they obtain nonprofit. It is 100% funded.
That is correct.
Okay.
Upon them becoming nonprofit, that is correct.
We write the check.
That is correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Anna, do you want to read the motion as you have it?
Please.
Councilman Moody? Make sure that's,
For the Colonial Center, not to be dispersed until such time as a nonprofit status is verified by the town manager and the director of finance.
And the finance director, two verifications.
okay. Any further discussion, council? Roll call, Ann?
Bacon Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. The second item I have for you is the Southfield Volunteer Fire Department has submitted a request to renovate the second floor of the fire department building used as a fitness facility. And as outlined in the following documents, which I sent all of you, everything that I have received. As the fire department building is owned by the town, any significant modification to the structure should be approved by the town council. Our recommendation is that the fire department committee meet with Chief Vaughn and look at the space and report back with a recommendation in July, so as not to delay this any further.
So we're not.
So you're looking for a
Chief,
motion?
Chief Vaughn, will that work with y'all's timetable if this is done and handled in July? If we can meet, if the fire committee can meet with you?
The fire committee has already been to the department with you to meet with us upstairs in that space. So if there's any questions, I mean, I can answer them.
Well, I think the questions might be future needs for the space.
That's
There could be a lot of questions, but we need to look at it carefully because it's a big step. And the fire department's paying for all of it, so we need to consider that too.
Are you looking for a motion? Is that what we're doing?
If you'd like a motion, yeah, that's fine.
I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and give the money to support our local volunteers to fund that project.
The money is not required.
Money's not
Excuse me, I'm sorry, to allow the fire department to do. I'm sorry, Mr. Callis. Thank you for your, yes, I make a motion that we move forward with that project.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see the fire committee take a look at this. I met with the chief 18 months ago, and he had a list of different items. This was one of them. My concern is, as our fire department and rescue squads change, and they're going to be changing. We talked about a piece of equipment that's a duplication that the rescue squad has, as well as the fire department. I believe that's going to be in his upcoming budget in a year or two. I think we need to tread very carefully as we spend money. And I'll give you another example. And I think the county needs to start getting involved in fire and rescue. I felt like this for some time. I'm not throwing rocks at the rescue squad, but if there's an emergency in Bracey, it's a while to get to Bracey. Even Warren County, North Carolina, who's not the most well-to-do county financially, they have pods where people can respond, rescue squads respond in close proximity. Those are just some of the examples, and our fire departments do a wonderful job in the county, but I think this whole thing needs to take a look at as far as all emergency services. And I think it should start here with us. And I'm just saying, putting it off and having the fire department, committee meet, nobody's gonna turn into a pumpkin, and we can bring it back in July and take a vote on it. And you're right, the funds are from, Mr. and Mrs. Rainey, left the money. I don't think 30 days will hurt us.
But, and Mr. Bowles,
But
this is
I'm here
something
to
y'all-
answer any questions
y'all,
you have.
Y'all have been working on this for some time.
Yes, sir.
Trying to build this.
Yes, sir.
And Warren County's not one of the lowest tax brackets on a 200-acre farm, and they're one of the highest tax brackets in North Carolina.
I didn't say that.
They're not poor.
Didn't
They're
say
not
that.
poor. But anyways, you know, again, you know, you all, to have that equipment there for you all to be able to work out, I mean, you know, in all the things that you do, and in my opinion, the county doesn't need to get involved at this point in time with the fire department. I think you all are doing a great job. I think our rescue squad services answer calls on a daily basis. They had 3 to Bracey today, and they've done a wonderful job. So, you know, that's not a neglect. But again, I mean, this is something y'all been working on, and yes, in my opinion, I've made the motion, and you all need to move on with it.
Well, he brought it up. I'd be happy to discuss it. So, Mecklenburg County is very generous to the fire services and as a whole. So they don't separate town versus county. They purchase all of our fit testing equipment. They maintain it. They pay for it. They are providing us with all new SCBAs. All of our respiratory equipment is being replaced by them. All of the mask is being replaced by them. They pay for ESO, EPD. They pay for our software, our MDTs, our data plans monthly. They pay for our insurance now, the workers' compensation. They pay for our rider. There's a lot of money invested in the fire services as a whole, and that goes through the Mecklenburg County Fire Chiefs Association. We're not asking for any funding. We're just asking to change the space that you all have already looked at to a gym.
Chief Vaughn, are you doing anything structurally to the building that could not be reversed 3 years from now if it needed to be?
No, so we had the building inspector come in. We had building permits pulled. He's been there multiple times now to do inspections. The room is finished. We took a lot of the load out of the room by removing the dishes and the furniture and the appliances and the upholstery and things like that were already in that space. So as far as fire load, which we understand that greatly, that load has been reduced drastically.
So to be clear, you took the old kitchen upstairs, you basically gutted it, and you're putting gym equipment in a space that already exists, and you're not doing anything structural to the building. Is that?
That's correct.
It's nothing structural.
No, sir.
What sort of flooring will be in the gym?
It's just a rubberized floor. Yeah. It's a concrete overlay with steel truss under the actual rubberized floor.
David, excuse me, Mr. Hash, did you see any violations, any concerns, anything from a building inspector perspective?
No, sir.
We have a motion on the floor, is that
All
correct?
right, for clarity, will you clarify your motion again, Councilman?
I would like to make the motion that we allow the fire department to move forward in obtaining their gym.
Okay, so council, we have a motion on the floor, but we also have a staff recommendation as well in the packet. So on regards to the motion, is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay.
I've seen the space, so.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
How close are y'all to being finished?
The space is finished.
It's
We're
complete.
just waiting on you.
There has been no committee meeting regarding this subject, has it?
I'm not on the fire committee. I don't know.
Not specific to this.
No, no.
We were there for another meeting, and
No.
I know I looked at the space. I'm not sure about the other two.
I have not looked.
I have not looked at the space.
It's just a vacant kitchen. They took the cabinets out, they're gonna put in weight-lift equipment. It's nothing structural.
But they're taking, it's the whole floor from looking at the plan. It's not just the kitchen, it's the whole floor where the tables were, right?
No, ma'am. So that's your training room. So that's a projector, and those are the tables that we use, the computers to do training. Yes, ma'am, they're tables and chairs. There's a meeting room in the corner. There's a break room. There's a storage closet. The only thing we did is we took the kitchen and we took it out because of the suppression system that failed, which ultimately ruined the space. We took pictures of all of that, and we just turned it into an area where we can put a fitness room in. We have a $45,000 kitchen downstairs that we put in a few years ago.
But I see it says weight machine.
Yeah, I think that's what's got everybody so.
I didn't
That's
write
what
on
got
that.
me confused.
I didn't write on that.
Oh, okay.
That was my question for clarification.
It's only the old kitchen.
So are there weight machines up there?
I don't understand the concern of the future growth of the fire
Are we
department.
talking about this space or the whole second floor?
All you're talking about is the kitchen, the ones we looked at the meeting when we were all there.
And all all of this? What
It's
is this?
tables and chairs, desk, projector, pool table is there now, storage space, and that's the lounge.
So none of that will change.
Nothing changes.
Mr. Mayor, I guess all I'm saying is just for the committee, I'm not opposed to this. Just let the committee take a look at it.
The
And
fire
then come back,
department
and
is,
then come back to us with a recommendation. And if the committee, you know, I trust the committee. If the committee says they think it's a good idea, it's fine with me.
I guess my concern now is I jumped through all the hoops as I was told to do. And I provided all the documents as I was told to do.
Okay, thank you.
But generally, that would go to a committee first, chief.
And they had a meeting with us upstairs at the fire station.
I understand that, but
We didn't see the space.
I was told that we didn't have a committee meeting yet.
We didn't have the space on, he told us what he wanted to do, but we didn't see all this according to my paper right here.
Are there vendors who have a contract with any timing with you in terms of installation of equipment or installation of the?
Our time
construction?
is valuable, being in the fire service. So we need to finish and move on to the next project. So if you delay it, I'm going to have to move projects around. That's what's going to happen.
and again, in my opinion, the fire department has never had to jump through obstacles to get anything done. We're setting a precedence by keep doing this. That's my opinion.
Chief, I want to make sure, I should say chief/administrator. I want to make sure, I don't want to predict the vote. I don't think there's any opposition by any particular member to this project. It is simply and we're not even funding that. I understand that.
Right.
But the structure is owned by the town and its citizens.
Correct.
And used by our wonderful fire department. I think this is a very basic procedural request. I don't think it has a thing to do with approval or disapproval. I just want you to understand that.
No, I understand what you're saying, but you know, from us, from the fire department side, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the volunteers, and that's what I do. We followed the procedures. We pulled all the policies and the building permits. We had the insurance provided. He has the documents. I even provided pictures for you all to go in your packet to the town manager so that you could see the space, knew what we were doing. We drew the drawing together as our officers of the fire department. All we needed was the approval so that we could move forward with it. The space has not been compromised. The future growth of the fire department is not in any, we haven't come to you and said we have a problem with response. We haven't come to you and told you that we have a problem with space. We haven't caused any issues.
Mr. Chief Vaughn, is this the first time Mr. Callis has seen this? Is that the first time you're seeing that email?
The email that I sent to you?
No, I'm talking about the sketch and all with the questions you had written. That's the first time you saw it?
Yes.
Okay.
The email, when I got the email from Michael, yeah, I put it down.
But I'm saying it's today the first time you saw it.
No, not today. Oh, no, I submitted the questions, and, but the date of the email that you have is when I first saw it.
Chief, would it be a major setback if this was delayed for perhaps 1 week? If the fire department can get over there and just take a look at it and then advise council about same, would that put you in a bad spot? Fire committee, excuse me.
I don't believe 1 week would put us in a bad spot.
And we have 3 members on the committee and they are sitting there. Would they be able to do that within a week?
I certainly would.
That's 2 of them and who's it?
Yes.
Yes, that's,
Would they be coming together?
Yes.
that would be up for them to decide.
So we would need to notify the public again.
Anytime 3 or more gather, you have to advertise.
On a committee meeting, yeah.
3 days notice.
3 days notice, yes.
But we do have a motion and a second on the floor.
But how will we have a body
But
vote?
we're also in discussion.
But if we do a meeting, I would suggest to you that it be done not by this Friday, but by next Friday, because this is a full week and Friday, it's a holiday, or by next Wednesday, and report to the council. If that's what you desire, but right now you have a motion and a second, but we can make work whatever you wish.
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Are you want to hold to your motion?
I'm sorry, I want to hold to my motion.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, a roll call vote.
Roll call, Anna?
Read the motion,
Wait,
please.
yeah.
Motion
Let's see
is,
what the motion
please read.
To move forward with the project.
And let me, can Anna, Ms. Cratch, I'm sorry, I've been calling you Ms. Cratch. Can I also add to that this is being funded by the Rainey estate? And Bill specified in her estate letter that most monies were to go to the fire department to be used at their discretion.
That's not in our purview, it was left to the fire department. If they left the money to the fire department for $30,000, I do not believe
Okay,
it's on our.
can I make it say that the town of South Hill is not funding this? This is being funded by the volunteers?
Yes.
I can include that. in the
Please.
budget.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call, Anna.
Davidsburg,
No.
Graham,
No.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Moody,
No.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
No.
Joseph Taylor.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay. So,
So we will call, if council so desires, we will schedule a fire department committee meeting as soon as we possibly can with a plan to report back to council, by 5 p.m. next Wednesday. Set there for
Next
all members of the
Wednesday.
fire committee.
Wednesday week.
Wednesday.
Wednesday week.
Okay.
And at that point,
That's fine.
Mr. Callis, will we be able to vote on that so they can move forward on it? Or will we have to wait until July's
Did
meeting
you
to
get
do
a
that too?
call vote? I mean,
If council so desires, I would say put in a motion that should the fire department committee recommend approval, we can ask for an electronic vote.
Electronic vote would be
I
permissible.
like that.
I'll make that motion.
Yes, I'll second that,
okay, any discussion?
because we want it moving.
Roll call, Anna.
Davidsburg,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
We'll be in touch tomorrow. Thank you. And one more item under ordinances.
Good evening. The town intends to finance several projects through the issuance of bonds. The principal amount of the bonds attributable to these projects is not expected to exceed $9,800,000. Treasury regulations require the town to adopt a resolution to preserve the ability to use portions of the proceeds of the town's upcoming issue of bonds to reimburse itself for project expenditures made prior to the bond issuance. I ask that you adopt the enclosed resolution.
Council.
So moved.
Do I have- Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed?
We do need a roll call for the resolution.
Okay, roll call, please.
Davidsburg,
Yeah.
yes. Did you say yes?
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, inside your packet, you have the, request to adopt the ordinance, so that South Hill Police Department can enforce, Code of Virginia 46.2, which is the traffic ordinances, and 18.2, which are the criminal codes, as amended by the state of Virginia in 1950.
Council, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance of South Hill PD, Titles 46-2, Article 2, 18.2.266, 18.2.273, Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended.
I will second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, Anna?
Davidsburg,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Good evening.
Good evening.
On June 7th, the town had sealed bids open for the Northeast Sewer Improvement Project. There were 3 bids that we received. The low bidder was HG Reynolds Company Incorporated. The base bid was for $5,544,766 and, $36.37. Probably need to say that. The other 2 bids were substantially higher. The high bid was $8,985,808.95. Based upon the engineer's positive review of the bids and of HG Reynolds Company Incorporated, the recommendation from the staff is to go ahead and award this contract to the apparent low bidder, HG Reynolds Company Incorporated. The town will further negotiate the bid price to reduce these project costs as much as we can. The staff recommends using ARPA money, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, to help cover the costs that's not within the budget that you just passed, which is gonna amount to, I think, about 1.5 billion. So we ask tonight that you would make a motion to approve this and have the appropriate paperwork signed so the project can move forward.
So moved.
Question,
Yes, sir.
what kind of negotiating, what areas do you think we have some leeway to negotiate on?
Right now, the engineer has looked at a couple of the pumps that they submitted in the initial bid, and he thinks he can save some money in doing a different style pump that will give us just as good a service.
Did he give you any indication of how much that we may save?
Not really. It's just right now all initial until we really get under contract.
I mean, you're asking me to vote on something and I don't even know the price yet. You understand that, right?
I understand.
Well, it's not gonna be more than this, it's gonna be less.
No, we're trying to reduce the price.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be less.
You're still asking me to vote on something I don't know the price.
Well, the bid price is $5,544,736.37. That is the bid price. Now, like any contract, when we get into it, there can be change orders. That's a normal part of doing this. But that is what we know today. So that's the price that we know today. And we're gonna try to reduce that if we can, but we do not know how much it can be reduced.
And this is not a fair question to you. I'll preface that. I just find it amazing the difference
Yes.
of $3.5 million
Yes.
from low to high.
Yes.
And I had that discussion, and again, it's not a fair question to you, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I got to assume that the scope of work was identical to all three bidders.
It was.
Okay, and I know that, but do you have an opinion?
I would say if you look at the low bidder, is from Henderson, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Those guys are gonna be low, but I got to stay in hotels like the other two companies make. So it's gonna cut down the cost.
I understand, and I respect that answer, but $3.5 million, that's a lot of rooms. And I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm not, that's not my intent, but I just was staggered by that difference. I just was. And
It's substantial.
So, anyway, I appreciate it. If you find out, let me know. Yes, sir.
Mr. Cowles, just for clarification, you said the HARPA money is going to take care of a lot of that.
We are recommending.
Yes, sir.
That that the ARPA funds.
ARPA fund, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is American.
Yes, sir.
We've been seeing webinars one after the other. An approved use of the ARPA money is for infrastructure and for water and sewer. Anything that we could finance through the clean water or the drinking water funds is approved, and this would be such a project. So we have just over $4.5 million in the budget for the bond, and so we are recommending that the ARPA money, which will come in two payments. The first one, we submitted the paperwork today, should be for a little over $2 million. We hope to receive it within a month. The second one will come 12 months from now. At any rate, we should have the funds in time to pay for this and other infrastructure projects.
If awarded, sir, when would the project begin?
What would happen is all the paperwork would be signed in. They have like 10 days to get their bonds to us and the insurance copies. And after that, we would schedule a pre-construction meeting and get a schedule in, and we'll get a copy to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious. And the length of time to complete?
I think this contract, if I remember right, is 15 months.
Yeah.
I think is what it was.
Okay, thank
If
you.
all goes well, we'd like to see dirt moved early August.
Yes.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Captain.
I've already made a
I've
motion.
got a
motion.
Do I have a second? Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay. Roll call, Anna.
Stephen Spoon,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Moss,
Yes.
Ben Taylor,
Yes.
and Joseph Taylor.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Council, in front of you are the reports for approval as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Any committee reports?
None other than Parks and Recreation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Marshall. The South Hill Dixie Youth will be hosting the Ozone Dixie Tournament and the
Coach Pitch.
Tournament beginning June the
Next Friday,
next Friday,
25th.
June the 25th.
Thank you. Anything else, council?
And it's a Babe Ruth tournament too, Councilman Moody, state tournament.
State, yeah.
Sometimes in July, I don't know
That's
the
in July.
exact date.
We were told it would be after the July 4th holiday.
Yeah,
We didn't have a date yet.
I think it's mid-July, but I don't know the exact date.
Anything else, council? Okay. Under appointments, we have in front of us the appointment of Stuart Taylor on the BZA, which will expire on July the 10th. Mr. Taylor has been contacted and agreed to serve another 5-year term beginning July 11th, 2021 and ending July 10th, 2026. I'm looking for a motion, but in clarity, due to some work with Councilman Moody and Anna, I would ask if the council so agrees that the person making the motion would make the motion in the verbiage of, I move to recommend. And if passed, and then a letter will be, a code compliance official will then send a letter to the Mecklenburg County Circuit Court judge requesting the issuance of a court order of appointment. So I am looking for that motion, if so deemed by the council,
I'll make the motion
to recommend.
to recommend Stuart Taylor on the Board of Zoning Appeals and that he be reappointed for another 5-year term.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The appointment of Lily Fagans Boone as an elected official on the CDA will expire on June the 30th, 2021. She has agreed to serve, am I incorrect?
Yeah, you got 2 people down there.
Yeah, we're gonna do one at a time. I may not get voted in.
No.
She has agreed to serve another 2-year term. You thought I was gonna leave you, right? Beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Oh. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The appointment of Dean Marion as an elected official on the CDA will expire on June 30th, 2021. He has agreed to serve another 2-year term beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second it. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, in reference to Kim, do we need a motion for that? Anna?
It can't hurt to have one.
Okay. On the same term, 2-year term, expiring, beginning on July 1, 2021 and ending on June 30, 2023, Kim Cowles has agreed to serve as a non-elected official. Do I have a motion for his?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The appointment of Dwayne Gwaltney on the Parks and Recreation Committee will expire on June 30th, 2021. He's been contacted and agreed to serve another 4-year term beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? The appointment of Richard Walker on the Parks and Recreation Committee will expire on June 30th, 2021. He's been contacted and agreed to serve another 4-year term beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Is that it, Anna? Is that it? Okay. All right. Old business.
Mayor, members of council, I believe that you will recall that the town had received a request from an attorney representing the Pettis Payne family, asking for the disbursement of surplus funds from a tax sale for approximately 30-acre parcel, that was out off Rocky Branch Road. And, can't tell you how many hours mutually and I have worked trying to, get some type of resolution for this. And, but the memo that you have on the dais in front of you, was written this morning, and then this afternoon about 2:30, we finally had a good conversation with Russell Slayton about all of this. One of the questions that you had was whether or not notice was properly provided. And that can be done a number of ways, and Russell Slayton informed us that, the county did not provide him any information that demonstrates that a deputy served the notice in person. They did provide information, showing that notification had been mailed to the address of the property owner. And, there is also an order of publication where the tax sale is advertised that constitutes constructive notice, and proof of that was also done. So, the family was informed of the tax sale. Now, there's a court case that's going on right now about form of notice, and they hope to have a decision this week, regarding what is proper and what is not proper. So, that's just sort of the background. But the family was notified whether or not the mailing and the order of publication, which is in the law, constitutes constructive notice, is to be determined. However, we have two options. Well, we have options. We collected the money as surplus proceeds of almost about $45,000. We have been paid for the back taxes on that property. So, if it is your wish to refund those excess proceeds, which should be requested within 2 years of the tax sale, it is now 6 years past this tax sale, we can do that. We would need, you can authorize it. What we would need to do is we would have to draft an ordinance to be adopted at the July meeting. And once you adopt the ordinance, we can pay the money back to the Pettis Payne family. If you're inclined to not do the disbursement, because it is 6 years beyond, almost 6 years beyond the time required, or it's 6 years instead of 2 years, then we can withhold payment. And we can wait and see what this court case says, which may happen this week or next week. So it's your pleasure. But the town has received the taxes on the property. If we dispersed all of the money, if we adopted an ordinance to disperse all of the money, then we may incur some legal expense because, Jimmy Butts has spent time on this, and Russell Slayton will have spent time on that, and we may have to pay that. Not to mention the time the staff has spent on this, to which we are entitled to payment. So, we have a couple of options. If you want to repay the funds or a portion thereof, you can do that. We can draft an ordinance to that effect and adopt it in July and pay the money out. Or we can wait and see how this court case goes, and then make a decision from there.
Are you asking for a motion?
I think you should have some conversation among yourselves.
When was the taxes paid? 4 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago? Do you know the time frame on when the tax record
The
date?
tax sale was in November of 2015.
Okay.
And we would have gotten the payments sometime thereafter, so I would say in 2015 or early 16.
Shortly thereafter.
That's right.
Okay.
But importantly, the taxes weren't paid by the family. They were only paid after the tax
Tax
sale took
sale.
Sale of
place,
the property.
which is a very important point. So at no point have you had or any offering by the family to make the payment on what they owe. And in addition to that, the town has incurred legal expense to even get to this point where we're awaiting the court decision. But another question, when you mention this court decision, that's not a local court. Is that an appellate court Mr. Slayton is referring to in Richmond?
Mr. Slayton did not say. He just said that he had a proceeding this week regarding service.
Reason I ask is because I would expect that's an appellate court decision, and I mean, if he knows that's coming in the next week or two, that's great, but I don't know how you know that, because it's from Richmond. I mean, he's not involved in the case, in the appellate case. Oh, is he? Well, then he would know. Then he would know.
I think we should wait until we hear from the court case, and then we'll know whether or not we were in fault or whether we can give up the money.
And let me ask, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
I would also assume that any legal costs would be deducted from said refund, and I mean that they would pay for the legal costs. That we would incur, or who would pay for that?
Any cost incurred by the town, we would recommend we deduct that from any disbursement.
That's okay. That was my understanding. I wanted to make sure.
Those costs, the proceeds of the sale were what they are. The $45,000 represents surplus proceeds. So the town has been paid for everything except about, we think, $367 in change that we think that we believe are still due, not including the time for attorneys and staff that have been devoted to this.
Mr. Callis, did Mr. Slayton reference, or did the county reference, was the notification by mail? Was that done certified letter? And they may not have said. I know the paper that you gave us did not indicate one way or the other. But
it did not, and I got that. I got copies of what the county did after that.
right,
That memo.
I just wondered if they sent it certified mail where we know they were served.
He just said it was proof of service and that it was. I do not know. I don't see it.
Okay. Well, as we've learned, when the statute of limitation expires, it's nothing you can do about it. 6 years.
Would it not be proper for the council to wait for maybe until the July meeting to find out how this court case may end up? And if it's not done by our July meeting, then we can take action?
That would be appropriate.
We waited thus far.
Yeah, we've waited this long. And,
yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Counsel?
And then if the court decides that service was not proper,
then we'll go from the council. We can go from there. Let's get a little bit more legal standing.
So we don't need a motion for that, and just no action.
No action taken.
We anticipate a phone call from
Anytime.
Attorney Benjamin Fox tomorrow, and we can just inform him that council prefers to wait and see the outcome of this court case, and we'll take appropriate action.
Okay.
And if he asks anything beyond that, we'll just repeat. We'll wait for the outcome of the case.
No comment.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other new business?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. As we all know, during our May meeting, our public hearing lasted a long time. Now, we do not have a time limit set for citizens to address council during a public meeting, a public hearing. We have a 3-minute time limit for citizens to address the council. I was wondering what would be council's feelings if we refer to the policy committee to look at possibly recommending a time limit of perhaps maybe 5 minutes. I think 3 minutes is too short. A 5-minute limit which can be extended by council as it sees fit during a public hearing, so that everybody who is lined up to speak gets their opportunity to speak, and they don't have to stay here until almost midnight. I think it was unfair to a lot of people who came to speak and a lot of people who were here and were watching and streaming, that they had to sit here until almost midnight, which granted, if we have to do it, we do it. But I think perhaps the committee might want to take a look at, and the council may want to look at, installing a possible time limit for public hearings.
I totally concur, Mayor, with Mr. Moody, and that would might forego some other filibusters that we might have taking place at the council. And there's an appropriate time for filibusters, but it's not at a town council meeting. It's unfortunate.
And when you were talking about extending it, that means the council allowed them to continue talking, or will they just do the 5 minutes, let someone else come up and speak, and then they can come back and do another 5 minutes, or that's the way the policy, y'all gonna?
I think it would have to depend upon the topic that's being discussed. The council would have the opportunity, but that would be up to the policy committee to come up with a recommendation. That if the council wants to allow someone to go past 5 minutes, I mean, you don't want to go 5 minutes and say, okay, you gotta stop talking.
Councilman Moody, do we have a policy now about public speaking?
To my knowledge, there is no time limit on public hearing. There is no time limit to my knowledge. We have the 3 minute on citizens to address, which is an entirely different episode.
Right, because again, like I said before, I had asked Ms. Cratch that night, and I should have addressed my comments to the mayor, but you know, when people asked to speak, I told them 3 minutes because I couldn't find it in policy anywhere where there was a number of minutes required to speak. I didn't see an hour and 10 minutes to speak.
I looked and I couldn't find it either.
Okay.
To my knowledge, there's not one there. Yeah.
So,
The
Ms.
policy
Huster,
does apply to citizens to address council.
That's the 3 minutes and that's it. That's the one I could find. Correct.
so would you be willing to, chair of the policy, to set that meeting up with Councilman Moss?
Mr. Mayor, I would.
You got some time? Is that okay? All right, so we'd like to mention,
Yeah,
reflect
and
this.
report back July, August, whenever y'all come up
recommendation.
with, whatever y'all come up with. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, council.
Any other new business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and I made a call to our town manager as well about this. Among the many laws that are changing beginning July 1, the use of marijuana will be legal in Virginia. As localities, we need to be prepared for a massive sea change, not just in the regulation, but use of this substance. I will tell you, I think it may be exceptional among those my age, but I come to this body with a bit more of a conservative view about the use of marijuana. What comes from Richmond in terms of our Virginia State Code now makes it clear that it is legal. However, as municipalities, we have certain tasks that we need to take place, need to address in the next 6 months, I would say certainly, to address how our particular town, South Hill, sees it. In particular, first off, localities have the ability through referendum to prohibit retail sale. It is my sincere hope that this body will. That will, of course, be up to the citizens of this town, but as a body, we have to take the necessary legal steps to put that referendum on the ballot. In addition, it is also my sincere hope that this town council will, as we can, prohibit public use of marijuana, particularly within a certain radius of schools. I spend every Wednesday and Thursday morning in our juvenile and domestic relations court. I'm massively concerned about the use by either juveniles or adults. Certainly juveniles are prohibited from using this substance, but the use by adults around juveniles in any proximity is extremely concerning. This body is prohibited from prohibiting the use of marijuana in our locality, and it shouldn't be allowed to prohibit it. It's a statewide law now, but there are some legal steps that I know the town manager is prepared to take in terms of speaking with the council, as well as our companion bodies in Virginia Municipal League, to make sure we're ahead of this. We cannot find ourselves too close to a 2-year limit, because we'll be prohibiting from managing the use of marijuana in our locality. But this is a step that needs to take place as soon as possible, with our hope planning beginning in July, certainly August. Mr. Town Manager, can we move forward on that?
Yes, I would suggest to you that the policy committee also look at this and make a recommendation to the council. We just had a webinar last week about this, and we're looking for clearer guidance on it. The legality of it is without question. What we want to allow in the town is not without question, so we need to have a policy on what we want to regardless of what council, no matter what council decides, there are certain steps that have to be taken either way. So we can discuss this with the policy committee.
Thank you.
And I would assume, Mr. Callis, we will be working with an attorney on that with the policy committee as far as wording or whatever policy that,
Yes.
whatever updates, we will be working with an attorney.
Yes.
Okay.
Will we have any input from the police department?
We certainly should, yes.
Right.
The chief to the policy committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
For clarity,
We'll set up a policy committee meeting, then begin the conversations, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
for clarity on your comments, you said referendum and you said council. Is that one and the same, or would that be,
No.
would you clarify that for me?
Certainly. So, and I'll point you all. I'm not specialized in this topic. It's in the Virginia Municipal League magazine this month, and it's an excellent article about what we as the municipality have to do in order to draft language for the referendum, because the prohibition of retail sales has to be by referendum. That has to go that route, which is a much more complex scenario, and the town manager and legal counsel can maneuver it. But regulations such as prohibiting public use of marijuana, and also in particular scenarios like schools, can be enacted by our local body. Certainly this body will make the decisions on particular policies on this that we're allowed to by statute, but there is there's a dual route depending on the policy that needs to take place. Great starting point is that article in Virginia Municipal League magazine, but beyond that, it will take webinars, publications to decipher this, because it is a massive sea change. In 10 years, we've gone from the substance being a class 1 misdemeanor, the equivalent of a larceny, to now being completely legal. I'm not making a judgment with respect to the appropriateness of whether it's legal, only about the regulation thereof in South Hill.
Well, and along those lines, you would work side by side with Mecklenburg County as well, would you not? The county?
It's possible, and in addition, another component of that article is there are certain steps that a county can take place, can take that apply to all municipalities within it. And I know that our town manager will work with Mr. Slayton, who I assume is functioning as county counsel on this topic as well. But there's also that component.
I've already had a conversation with the county about this.
Great.
Okay.
But knowing that, I don't want us to wait for other localities, just so that we have a grasp of this, because as in all legal matters, things are delayed, and I don't want this body to delay on it, not making a policy, but at least having an organization, a procedure in place, so that our town council, SEL, can take action, or at least give us our options.
Okay. All right. Any other new business? I think you were made aware, I'd like to add to the minutes, if I could, Anna, the recognition of our fire department certification. I don't know how much correspondence you have, but I'll provide you mine, ma'am, for the minutes. But I'd like to have that included as well, if possible. If that's okay. Any other new business? Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.